Welcome back, folks. We're here at the Triplist of KOs. I am joined by Matt McMuscles as usual, Justin Wong, who is already embarrassing people with Azucena, and my name is Max, and I have played the story mode. So we're here.
Me too. My name isn't Max, but me too.
I haven't played story mode yet.
Tekken 8 is out. I think a few of us have had access to the game pre-release for a little bit. Although for me personally, you know, one of the biggest draws of this game is actually its big narrative and its big story mode. So I was waiting till I had friends over to actually play through it, like in a group, and we did. It's shockingly digestible. What did you think of it, Matt?
It's insane. I have not 100% finished it yet. I think I have a few more chapters left, but I needed to square that up with like checking out the other modes a little bit, so we'd have all equal footing to talk about today. But because a lot of it has to do with you, and that you played that hour chunk at the preview event a few weeks back, and you were just like all positives. You're like, this is crazy, this is stupid, it's the dumbest, it's the best.
Yeah.
And even after the demo, just Jin throwing the motorcycle, you're like, yes, please let this be the tone setter. And it very much is. I thought it was a little, from where I stopped, I thought it was a little, after that moment, it was a little slow. It's like, Jin, you kind of suck. You need, it seems like the story mode is how Jin got his groove back.
Yes.
So up until the, like, Jin, you just kind of stink. And then when it starts to get going, specifically with a tournament that happens, the King of Iron Fist tournament, not a spoiler, but the way that's handled, I think I'm not sure if we should talk about it, because it's so fucking hype and you're not expecting it. And then the big moment after that is just as like crazy. You've seen little snippets of it, especially in the intro, but overall I was really, really enjoying it. Like, absolutely the best narrative story mode Tekken, I think, has
and that
ever
ain't
had.
hard. That's not hard, but
it's a low bar to clear.
In reality, like, well, I'm actually curious on Justin, because I'm actually fascinated by this, because Matt is at the top of the iceberg right now, and the iceberg goes really fucking deep with the end of this story. And I absolutely love it. Justin, how much of it did you play?
I haven't played story at all.
Oh no.
I only been playing matches and just like learning the characters and everything.
It's a good thing I didn't say anything.
Yeah, but I definitely want to play story mode, like, and arcade quests really bad, because I think that's how you unlock Super Ghost Battle is from arcade quests, is right? So yeah, I'm super excited to try that, because the time I played Tekken 8 story mode was like the first 3 chapters.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And then that one got me hooked. I was already like, I need to play more and everything. So I'm really excited to just like sit down and just like one shot this story mode.
For sure. And at least I can tell you, Justin, without it being too much of a spoiler, that the first few chapters make it seem like you're going to be playing Jin only throughout the entire story mode. That's a Jin story. To be real, it pretty much is a Jin story. Like, everything of the story is building up Jin to be like the savior. So it definitely is very Jin focused, but you do play as other characters. So at other points, you will get the chance to like fight with other roster and scenarios.
And what's cool is that, unlike, say, a couple of instances of Mortal Kombat doing it, where they sneak in those extra characters, like, that's fine, that makes sense, get them a little bit, but they don't have like a chapter chunk,
right?
For example, they just find neat little ways to sneak in that kind of makes sense, which I really liked, first and foremost. Second, of most though, it's really weird when the game is like, this is an automatic fight that you're going to kind of lose, versus this is one you can't lose. That is mixed up all over the place. I think, at least in the chunk that Justin played, that sometimes you're just like, you lose this no matter what. And sometimes there's 2 rounds. Sometimes it's 1 round, and you never really know if is this a fight I can win, or is this a fight I'm not supposed to win? Because in RPGs and stuff, they usually make that very apparent. And here it's like not apparent at all. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it did kind of take me aback for a bit. I was like, okay, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, weird. I kind of remember just eliminating every life bar, and then you lose. Where it's just like, oh, I took away their life bar, but my character loses and the story continues. But you mean something different, right?
And like, because sometimes a character you'll do your rage art for example, and they'll still have a chunk of health left, visibly on their life bar,
and then it goes into a cutscene.
Then either goes into a cutscene or they do their rage art, and you get hit no matter what.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I'm blocking, I'm up in the air, I wasn't pushing buttons, I swear.
Yeah, you're actually not in control during those situations. It's a cutscene.
Yeah. And when it transitions into like a camera angle, you're like, oh, okay, that was a cutscene. So yeah, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just like different, like, because Mortal Kombat makes it really apparent. It's like, it zooms on your character, and your character goes like, oh, I beat your ass down. Like, that was easy. And then it goes into a cutscene versus this. It did promise what Tekken 7 initially promised, was like, you'll never know like where the story it melds together with the gameplay.
Right.
I think they did a consistently better job here, especially like when a character jumps into a cutscene and they like do a kick and someone blocks it, and then it cuts into the life bars come in just at that moment perfectly. Like that really helps with the presentation stuff. So like, I've been really enjoying it overall.
There's a lot of cool shit like that throughout the story, where I almost like this significantly more than MK story stuff. Because MK ultimately sets up some characters talk shit to each other. They fight for a round or 2. This is completely different. I'm sorry, completely the same as the normal traditional game. And then they talk shit, and then it cuts to a scene. Every single story sequence is essentially like that, even the big finality of the game. So what I love about Tekken is that there's unique dialogue characters will have with each other and stuff, and cool cinematic slowdown moments. Like, when I was doing an electric versus Kazuya with like another electric, the game went and slowed down, and it's like, this isn't a cutscene, bro. Like, I did the input for this, and he just did it at the same time, and boom, cool. Like, and then Jin talks shit, fuck you, dad. Like there is actually cool scripted things that happen while the fight goes on, and much less when characters do big cinematic things. They talk like extra shit. The camera zooms around, it goes in. I was like, this is fucking sick. This does not happen when you play this game. This is not like traditional gameplay shit, much less they just change move lists completely. And I don't know if anybody in here is a Jin main, but Jin is playing like Tekken 7 Jin. He doesn't have all of his moves because he hasn't gotten his groove back. So he's missing most of his moves, and he has his old moveset. I'm like, what the fuck? This is weird.
I think there's a line where Alyssa like does a diagnostic on him, and she's like, "You're down in every category, dude. You have debuffs on everything." Yeah. And just like nerves. Yeah, he's got tons of nerves, and just like,
cool. I'm sad.
And for like a good chunk, people are like, Jin's the worst. He's like, don't even put him in the ring, and he has to convince people, like, no, I can do it, honestly. Yeah, and I was like, I don't know.
So I mean, the nice part about this is that I just got done being exposed to Tekken 6's story mode, and played through Tekken 7 story mode again, and also Tekken 5's, which is technically Devil Within. And we can just ignore that Devil Within exists. Tekken 6's story mode is absolutely awful. Some of the gameplay is okay because it's like Tekken Force mode, so it's okay. But like, the scene direction and dialogue it's like waiting for a tree to move through the forest. Like, I'm watching paint dry type shit. It is the slowest, most meandering, nothing means anything when they talk to each other bullshit. I'm like, this is brutal, dude. And then Tekken 7 is peaks and valleys, where it's just like, okay, crazy hype shit, fun. This journalist is going to talk for a while, and then Alyssa and a couple of these other characters are going to do nothing plot relevant. Like, literally half of the story of Tekken 7 is other characters like Nina and Alyssa and Lars and shit doing nothing plot relevant. They're just getting Jin to a point that sets up for Tekken 8. So it has no impact on the story. Let's just get back to this son and his dad beating each other up in a volcano, and then it's actually good. But shockingly enough, dude, Tekken 7 story is an hour and a half. It's so short.
Is that short?
It's really short.
I
And
don't remember it being that short.
I'm watching all of the cutscenes, dude, and I'm like,
yeah,
this is really short. This is not. I remember it being much longer because I played on like hard difficulty, and some fights can take like 30 minutes. But when it's not that, you just blast through that game. It's really short.
I thought it was like 4 hours in my memory.
Yeah.
I think it probably could be on first playthrough if in some situations if you really slow down, but it's not a long mode. So I think Tekken 8's story mode is like the perfect length. It maxes out at about 3 to 4 hours.
Okay, because I was like 2 hours 15 minutes, and I was reading some people saying like, yeah, maybe 5 hours.
No,
but like
I
don't know why.
Yeah, and I don't think it needs to be a traditional 5 to 6 hour Mortal Kombat story mode. I don't think we need that because, to be frank, my issue with some of the MK story mode stuff is that there is definitely parts in there where, okay, we're just focusing on this character for the sake of focusing on this character, and their actual impact on the story, they try to give them like a reason, and the reason is really like, all right. And then we're just gonna play as them, like it's playing as Lee May while she gets her ass kicked or something like that, like over and over and over again. It's like, okay, all right.
So between all three major games I've released, like with big story modes, Street Fighter 6, MK1, and this, it's like they're all doing something slightly different, where it's like this is focusing on one character primarily, and other characters help them out. MK1 is still doing the MK thing of
whole roster.
There's a whole roster,
every character gets love. Yeah.
Yeah. And World Tour mode is you're playing as created. You are playing as you.
It's a you.
And anything can happen to you versus like not anything can happen to Ryu or Ken or whatever. And they're just all like on the periffs helping you out again. So it's like interesting. But right now I'd say like I'm kind of digging this more, like focusing on one character and a few other characters that are, you know, the antags to them or helpers or whatever. And I was really pleasantly surprised with the amount of you know, characters that are not super plot relevant suddenly getting a bit more plot relevance than ever. Like Leroy has a surprising amount of like cool shit going on in this story mode, and even like Zafina and Claudio, I was like, oh, that's cool. And silly characters are there, but they do their one or two silly things, and that's it. Like it's a nice balance of everything so far. So
I made this observation at the end because since you haven't seen the last 25% of this game, which is arguably, it's probably my favorite story mode shit ever in a fighting game. I'll be real.
Okay.
It's fucking peak. And it could be because of what I enjoyed about Tekken throughout the years, but it's a very much like a big retrospective sort of thing in the same way that like Heihachi versus Kaz was in the previous game. That one was always mired by the fact that we're both assholes. Like, we're both dickheads, and our goal is going to be the same thing: throw the other dickhead into a volcano. It's amazing, it's really hype and shit, but at the same time, like it lacks sort of like an emotional like, well, we got to do this, you know? Like it sort of lacks that. It's just really cool. This game at least has Jin, and you know it's going to do its best to elevate Jin and make him an actual like character in some way, which is why I personally like it.
What I love is when other characters are like, didn't he kill lots of people? Yes. And they're like, yeah, he did, but that's okay. Let's look over here. Yeah. Like, there's a couple of lines where they're like, they just wave it off. Like, they're not retconning it. They're just like, it's fine.
So there's
that's why there's erasers on pencils.
There's definitely things later on where that keeps coming back. And it sets up for very specific moments, some pretty big moments. So I thought it was going to be the same thing. We're just going to ignore Tekken 6, right? No, they like address it later on pretty hard.
Yeah. The one thing about focusing a lot on Jin is that as a character, there's only so much he can give and emote, right?
Yeah.
Because even in Street Fighter 6, when you speak to Ryu in World Tour mode, like they do a decent job of like Ryu like likes these things and he has this kind of personality and kind of skewing it towards like him not just being like a fighting machine. And it's like we're not there yet with Jin. Like I think he smiled once in the 2 hours I played, and he was smiling to Zhao Yu, and I really liked that moment. But like that was it. It was just.
Nah, man. He's seen some shit in his day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
3 days. He's seen some shit and gone through some some rough training upbringings and everything. So yeah, I think that smile is gonna be long gone for a bit.
Yeah,
I think so.
So I think comparatively, I haven't seen all of these, but I'm like aware of them and I've seen enough to turn it off that I'm done. I've seen a bit of the old Tekken anime, the manga entertainment one. I've watched enough of it to turn it off. I'm done. The same thing with Tekken Bloodlines. I'm turning this off. I'm done. Also, Tekken the movie. I've just seen scenes, and I probably wouldn't even fire up the DVD or whatever.
Don't do it.
And then obviously the latest Netflix show, which I did not watch any, but I heard enough negative responses that like the story's awful. Like you'll see characters do some moves here and there, but like it's not a movie, it's a series. I heard enough bad things where it's like, just don't even watch it. You're fine.
Yeah, Justin and I had seen it, and it was like the fighting is really hype. Actually, like
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
like fucking 10 hit strings come out and stuff, but the actual story is so truncated and fast, even in a series, that it's like no one gets much of anything, like in terms of story characterization. But yeah, that's basically it. And yeah, Blood Vengeance is an hour of we've talked about this before. It's an hour of nothing and 20 minutes of the hypest shit you've ever seen.
Yep. So I think comparatively, just based on the way like 35,000 people last night were reacting to the final 20 minutes and just the overall vibe of the room of like what the fuck we're looking at. Yeah, Tekken 8 is some pretty sick shit. And it actually has a cohesive story, right? Like we're actually going from point A and then there's a big down point, and then the characters have to build themselves back up, and then all this shit's gonna happen, and then it's gonna have an epic climax. Like, oh, it makes fucking sense. It's like a movie. Like it's an actual narrative in some way. All the other Tekken games do not have that. The movies do not have that, and they just meander around other bullshit. And you're like, can we get on with like the story, like what we're actually here for? And it's no, that we're gonna talk about Xiao Yu and her pandas, and we're gonna focus so much on them that it's like, dude, motherfucker, like this is hard to watch. I actually liked Tekken 8 story, and it's like if we just had an entire movie about an entire like Street Fighter story about Ryu, and he's like fighting the Dark Hado type stuff, and he's like trying to elevate himself over that. Like they do that in the Alpha movie in some way.
Alpha, yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's like, yeah, this can work. It can be okay. And that's kind of what Tekken does. What I appreciate about Tekken 8 story is that it knows. It's very self-aware. We did Jin as a main character fucking dirty after Tekken 3 and Tekken Tag. So Tekken 4 to Tekken 5 relatively, to splitting him into two different characters, to Tekken 6 we make him a global shithead, and then Tekken 7 we just practically ignore his existence throughout the entire story because to focus on Dad and Grandpa. They did Jin fucking dirty for him being like essentially one of the ultimate protagonists in fighting games. Like Jin was such a huge part of Tekken 3 and them reinventing that franchise. So the game's aware of that. Like we're making Jin the goddamn like front and center character of this game, because he was not that in Tekken 7, and he was that in Tekken 6 in a negative way.
It wasn't even on the cover.
No, he wasn't.
It was just Kaz and Heihachi.
Dude, like Jin is not a part of the story. Like they find his body and he's as like Devil Jin, and that's about it, because after the Azazel fight he's just in some fucking desert somewhere. So there's a small story of like Alyssa and Lars like finding Jin, and then he's passed out, and then G Corp like kind of working to get Jin, setting up for Tekken 8. That's it. That's all there is. But then the main story of the game is obviously Kaz versus Heihachi, which is what you care about because it actually goes somewhere. So anyway, yeah, Jin's been done fucking dirty, like as a character, story-wise and even gameplay-wise. Like Jin is really good in Tekken 7, but he's kind of dry. And now you realize how dry he is as a character gameplay-wise after, Tekken 8 gives him a ton of shit.
Ton of shit, yeah. But I mean, I think that's enough for story mode. We'll talk about a bit more when like I finish and Justin gets around to it. But Justin, if not the story mode, what were you up to all last night? I saw that you were like, I want to play Under Night. Oh no, it's crashing. Okay, I'll play Tekken. Oh no, it's crashing. But that was ironed out eventually, yeah?
Yeah, it was just the most bad luck thing ever. Like, I'm just like, okay, Under Night comes out the day before, and I play it crash, doesn't work on, at least for PC. Ranked match doesn't work and stuff. So I'm like, all right, cool, we're done with that. Tekken 8 comes out, super excited. There's a few betas out, and then the game would not let me connect to a match. It would crash too, but I think it was because of like server errors, they were saying. But they fixed it within 2 hours. So eventually, like, ranked match and casual match and the Tekken Fight Lounge started to come together, and I couldn't stop playing. Actually, like, literally, it was just non-stop fun action, just trying to like learn the game, playing the characters, and it was really hard to put down once the online starts working. Yeah, and the online is good. Like, I think Wi-Fi, like, if you play wired versus Wi-Fi, and depending on how far the person is from Wi-Fi, then the connection can get really slow. But if you're both on wired, it's so good. Like, I haven't had an issue yet when it's wired versus wired.
Yeah, so here's kind of the crazy thing that everyone's going to be asking that I haven't even had a chance to make a video on because I just need to play more. The netcode seems good. It seems actually significantly better than Tekken 7. I don't think we're on the same level of rollback for other games where it feels almost uninterrupted from the offline experience, where it's just like, dude, Street Fighter 6 online compared to Street Fighter 6 offline is like the same shit. Like, there's a very minute difference, but like in terms of actual like progressing as a player, very few people are going to notice a difference there. Tekken 8, I still feel a little bit of input delay every once in a while, especially in Wi-Fi. Like, it feels like it has to cake on more input delay.
It's bad on Wi-Fi.
It's this is a different story on a Wi-Fi connection. But for the majority of matches I played, I went to Japanese lobbies last night, finally able to play in people in other regions, and it was super playable. Like,
nice. Like,
not playable as in like, oh, this is barely functioning. Like, this is pretty good. Like, I'm able to react to some lows and shit. So that's good. I had a lot of people tell me to, and I'll have to mess around with some of the other stuff in the game. Some people were saying, because this game gives you a rollback option. So rollback seems to be working in some way. There's a neutral rollback option. There's standard. There's prioritized response. And then there's prioritized fluidity. And neutral is probably like a 2 to 3 frame buffer, which is just the way rollback works, right? Prioritized response probably drops that down to like 1 or 0, depending on the game. And then prioritized fluidity is probably 5 or above. So you'll feel a bit of input delay. The problem with prioritized response on a rollback game is if you're not giving your game any delay frames to work with, guess what you're going to get? A whole bunch of stuttering. Like, in a Tekken game, what is Tekken all about is like reacting to shit. So if you prioritize response and you're missing the first few frames of a snake edge, buddy, I hate to break it to you, that's probably not good. So ultimately, prioritize at the start. It seems like standard's probably the best. Like, then you're going to actually see most of the moves of characters and still be able to move in a way that works. Because what's the thing that everybody hates about rollback? Like, you play footsies with somebody and they're just like, if you prioritize response, and that's giving the game no input delay to work with, and all rollback games need input delay, you're just going to make that 10 times worse. So there's a balance here, right? This is the way, like, when fighting games give you this option, this has been the case since HD Remix on fucking like Xbox 360, when we could choose how many frames of delay we want to work with.
Yeah, people were telling me, oh yeah, if you do prioritize response, you won't get crashes. I'm like, no, this doesn't
it's not true.
Do anything. It's not true. They were just, it's like theories and myths at this point, because people are so desperate to get the game to work.
Yeah.
But if you are in your region, though, if you're playing somebody in your region, like, let's say if like me and you play Max, because we're both in the West Coast,
it's probably going to be perfect.
Yeah, prioritized response would be amazing.
Yeah.
But if, like you were saying, if you were in Japan and region, you have to go for sure for standard.
You'd be fucked. Yeah. It'd be terrible.
You'd be smoked.
As soon as you have, like, you start adding on people that are further and further away from you, or the quality of their connection, the packet loss stuff is not good.
Yeah.
Prioritized response is going to look pretty shitty. It's gonna make the game look bad, because like, the game just doesn't have any delay frames to buffer into. And that's just, I mean, people hear rollback and they think it's like an end-all be-all, but rollback netcode doesn't work without delay-based netcode. Like, you need delay to start.
Yeah, you need delay,
To be real, this is why Tekken 7 ended up being a good online game for most people, because enough people were playing it. Tekken 7's a delay-based game, right? But for the most part. But when you fought people in your region, you were totally fine. Felt great. It felt, by the end of Tekken 7, it felt really good. The problem was is that you were limited to your region. And in a fighting game, you want to fight people at least,
you want to fight everywhere.
Everywhere.
Multiple people, at least 30 people, different type of...
Exactly. And sometimes if you're ranking up in 7, you're limited to like 5 or 6 folks. And it's like, damn it, I'm just cycling through these people over and over again. It's a Street Fighter 6 issue even. So
how does it rank against, I don't know, Tekken 6's online? Did anyone experience Tekken 6's
I don't remember
recently?
Tekken 6 online.
I recently played it.
That's why I'm asking.
That's really bad, right? That's really bad. I even just played Tekken Tag 2 online a whole bunch, and it was shockingly functional. Like it was okay.
What did you play that on? Like what version?
The Xbox Series X version or Series S.
Okay.
And that game looks amazing. That game has a dynamic resolution, by the way. It's like default 720p, but it'll drop really low to like 540p if it needs to. So what happens when you plug it into like a system with some juice? It stays at the highest resolution the whole time. So Tekken Tag 2 looks incredible on an Xbox, and it actually plays really well too.
I should re-download that because I did a Tekken tier list for all the characters, and I kind of like gave out at towards the end. It's like, man, the Tekken Tag 2 needs to be re-released, and like people were telling me it's like you can just play the Series X version because it's backwards compatible, and I was like, holy shit, I didn't. But like, so it's all, but I didn't bother with that because I'm like, well, it's online, probably doesn't function for some reason.
Still does.
That's crazy. I'll try that out.
To be real, most of the online in Tag 2 doesn't work anymore because it was tied to like Tekken TV or something weird thing that they called it. It was some weird actual Bandai Namco informational server about some tournament thing and player stats. So the majority of the list of online features just don't work. However, ranked match, player match works because what does that use? Xbox Live. So it's just same Xbox Live shit.
Was the Snoop Dogg stage DLC? And if it was, can I still purchase it?
No, it's in the game.
Thank God. I couldn't remember.
There is, from what I understand, how much DLC is in that game? No, it was Tekken 6. Tekken 6 had no DLC. Tekken Tag 2 has some DLC, but Snoop Dogg's in it by default.
So. Okay, good. You should. I'm like, why wasn't he not in the roster?
Snoop Dogg?
Yeah,
he made a music video.
He's in Call of Duty. Why can't he be in the King of Iron Fist?
I don't think we were there yet.
We were talking about
Snoop Dogg's online connection.
Snoop Dogg's netcode, and here's something that I think that like for somebody that has been actively covering and has been severely pissed off, and the netcode of Bandai Namco games has been a severe contributing factor of my ability and desire and even having any enjoyment of these games. This is the best netcode a Bandai Namco game has ever had.
Dude,
at least right now, at least from pre-release and the few matches I've played without it crashing, on launch day.
You fell in love with Dragon Ball Fighters due to this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, Dragon Ball Fighters was a cool game, but after that beta and then that month one, it was the connection's only getting worse, and the gameplay is starting to stale out pretty hard. So I had the most fun playing Dragon Ball Online when Rollback was added. I couldn't believe how much fun I was having, dude. Because I played so little of that game offline. Almost none of my experience of playing Dragon Ball is in an offline environment. So to actually experience that, I was like, holy shit, dude, I can literally anti-air people. I can be comfortable blocking without just guessing constantly where they're gonna go. This feels amazing. So I loved it, man. I was winning half of my matches too, but I didn't care. I was having a great time. Netcode pisses me off so goddamn bad, dude. When netcode isn't working good, I get so fucking furious. I'm like, I can't play this anymore. I'm too old for this shit, bro.
Justin, here's a pro tip. The very few times I would be giving you a pro tip, but if you stick to Max's channel and you see anything that he's uploaded recently, he goes back to an old jank game or a game that famously had bad netcode, you stealthily ask him about it, like I did with Tekken 6, and then you see his eyes get really wide as he's like, oh yeah, I hate that netcode. It's always
the netcode's so bad.
The passion that this man has when a good game has bad netcode is infectious.
I completely understand because if your game has a bad netcode, I'm just dropping it like straight up. That's why I stopped playing like Street Fighter 5, for example, like during the whole pandemic. So I'm like, nah, there's no way I'm gonna keep playing online for like Capcom Pro Tour for this game. Like, nope, I'm done. I'm gonna go play games with good online and everything.
Yeah,
so that's the one thing I'm super excited about.
I'm definitely not a person that like tries to celebrate being pissed off about something. Like, I think that wants to be the opposite. Like, no, we want to make things better. And
that's where it comes from.
Complaining about netcode has been in my DNA and has been a large part of my content creation for 13, 14 years now. So when you get a game that's sick and I'm excited for it, and then I jump online and it is balls, I'm like, this sucks so bad, dude.
Remind me, was Grand Blue, when the first version of Grand Blue came out,
it did not.
It sucked.
That's why people said it died.
There's another little game called Samurai Showdown. Sucked. Like, it was bad, dude.
It's the worst, actually. Because
I don't know how it was worse than KOF 14.
No, it's really bad. Like, I was trying to play with my friend one time. My friend's like, "Hey, let's play a set in Samurai Showdown." I'm like, "All right." And then I'm trying to send him an invite, or we're trying to matchmake. We couldn't matchmake. Like, it just wouldn't connect us at all. Like, that's how bad it was.
Yeah, it was using the internet from 1776 feudal
Pretty
Japan
much.
as well.
Yeah. It was
So
translating. The packet loss was going over 250 years.
Of like bamboo, like power lines.
Yeah, right.
Is that the one? Is Sam Show's rollback netcode? Is that the sole one that's still not out yet?
I think it's out now.
It's out now.
It is released, so the game's actually out now.
Yeah,
I haven't tried
it's
it
out now.
since.
It's just kind of hard because it's like they had so many betas and so many delays. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
people
that's what
just
made-
stopped.
And
People just stopped caring about it.
The rough part about the betas of it was that the impression of the rollback was that it was not good, because the early betas of rollback were really stuttery. Like, it was like, shit, this is like all the signs of what people hate about rollback. Like, what the fuck am I fighting?
Yeah.
I think tough. It's crazy that we're discussing like good Namco Bandai netcode now, because I want to say in our first couple episodes, whenever we get brought up, we're like, I don't know. Hopefully these rollback netcode, like, announcements that they say they are working on, like, we'll see.
So to be, well, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Well, now it seems they're doing it at least,
They're
especially
doing
with
something.
Tekken.
Something was done. Like, they definitely spent some budget and time to make the netcode like not balls. I mean, Justin, you played the betas, right?
I only played the first one. I didn't play the second one that you were saying that it was kind of iffy.
It was a little worse on the
I.
second one for some reason. I feel like my experience so far, albeit I probably have like less than 50 total matches. I tried to get people in other regions, but that was hard during the review test. I'm having a better time than I did in either of the betas. So it's working. Like, I played Jin specifically for like tough timing shit, and I was getting it. I was like, okay, this feels good. Like, I'm actually hitting electrics and shit in this. Sometimes it was like a little muddy, and sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes you'd obviously tell. You're like, okay, yeah, this feels a little weird. And those, most of the time, you just realized you didn't realize you accepted a Wi-Fi match.
Yeah,
so
that's the hard part.
So that being the reality of it, yeah, if this game is completely unaccommodating to Wi-Fi, that still sucks. Like, we are still not at the levels of Killer Instinct 2013, 2014. We're still not at the levels of Street Fighter 6. We're not at the levels of MVCI. We're not at the levels of like most of these other, or Guilty Gear Strive, nowhere close to it, right? We are not at actual games that have like traditional like rollback the way that we've seen other fighting games have. Yeah. But there is definitely improvement.
Yeah. It's kind of harder because, like, this is still, I guess, the first real official example of a 3D fighting game with rollback.
Officially, yes.
Right?
Like, from like a big studio, yes.
Right? So that's the hard part. Because, like, I mean, I played Street Fighter 6 on a Wi-Fi airport, and I was able to still do everything.
Yeah, the netcode's amazing.
I normally would do. Right, so I don't think I can comfortably would be like, hey, let's play Tekken 8 at an airport Wi-Fi,
Probably
and
not.
it would work. It would just be really bad.
Truck
It would
stop
just be really
Wi-Fi.
bad.
And just for everybody's clarification, there's been a lot of info that's been floating around about this doesn't work with 3D, moving camera, all this stuff. You can't roll that back, and it's just not true. For the longest time, we didn't have direct comparisons because rollback was not working on 3D games. Like, emulation rollback was only working on 2D games. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, to break it to everybody, we've been people have been playing Fightcade 3D game emulation for a long time now. Soul Calibur 1, Tekken 3, Virtual Fighter 4, Virtual Fighter 3. With rollback netcode, all 3D games, lots of camera movement, and guess what? It's amazing. It arguably works better than the other games, according to some people. So this is like a weird situation. The guys that literally, you know, Tom and Tony, when they literally were putting rollback into older games like Alpha 2 was the game that they initially conceived, like, hey, we can use rollback netcode for these games. Another little history lesson. Where does rollback netcode come from? Not from fighting games, bro. It comes from like Unreal Tournament and shit. It comes from like 90s era games like Quake and stuff. They used rollback for predictionary based, like not emulation, but just predictionary based netcode, just to assume, hey, if we lost inputs, what do we assume? They were holding that same direction. That's it. That's all it does. So it was working on 3D games, dude. They have rollback netcode in like Modern Warfare and shit. So long story short, they did it on Alpha 2, and it worked great. People were like, dang, this is really cool. And they're like, okay, yeah, that's dope. So what do we do about all these other games? What about Marvel vs. Capcom 1? Nah, won't work. Game's too fast, man. You got super jumps and shit. What's the camera going to do when you super jump? It's going to freak out. It's like, yeah, it's not going to work.
Too many supers.
And guess what they told me to my face? They plugged the netcode into Marvel 1, and it worked better. And they don't know why. They actually didn't know why. And the same thing happened when they plugged rollback into 3D games. It actually worked amazing. They were not expecting it to work as good as it does. I don't know, man. Shit just works sometimes. Like in the programming world, you don't ask questions where questions don't need to be asked. Shit just works sometimes. So we're sort of seeing that maybe with Tekken now, where we're kind of adopting a different sort of net play that might be working pretty good.
I'm kind of disappointed that like that story like about its origins, because I didn't know the Quake thing. You know, I knew Alpha 2. I didn't know the Quake thing. And like that's too normal and like cool. I wanted you to say Tony really wanted to play Biofreaks Online and like got it working specifically for that, and that's the fulcrum point of all rollback.
It was like Tony Hawk 2 on the Dreamcast was his inspirational game, so he decided to get it working online, and that's where rollback came from, or some weird shit.
No, like Spawn in the demon's hand.
I love Spawn in the Demon's Hand so much, but we couldn't play online with our friends, and so I created a new netcode.
I think we should also probably talk about characters. You mentioned, Max, that Justin himself, by his own admission, has said he is, quote, the most toxic Azucena player in the world. So who were you playing aside from her last night, Justin?
I was playing Azucena, Reina, and the crazy part was I love Kuma.
Really?
Kuma's got some new shit, dude. He's got a lot of sauce.
It's because he's pretty much like has a lot of new moves from like Heihachi. So having his original like bear stuff plus with Heihachi's, and he has a bear wind god fist. It's actually amazing. He's actually super sick. And I couldn't believe how much fun I was having with this character.
Just cool. To reiterate this, like even in the pre-release when me and Kenny were like the only ones that were online able to play this, right, with other reviewers and shit, we're like, this game's fun as fuck. Like
it's so fun.
They put, and maybe it's as a fighting game player, but characters can just do like so much shit that it's just gonna take a while to figure out all this stuff, man. On top of heat mode stuff, on top of what happens in heat mode and all this stuff, and then you tack on, so characters are just more kitted than they've ever been as well. I love it. Like I am having so much fun with how this game plays.
And you wouldn't think that, especially with a character like Kuma or any of the like the sillier like animal characters, like, oh no, give them tons of new shit too. Yeah. Why not?
Give them a bunch of wild new shit. Like I'm legit excited for Kenny. I get it. He's happy that Eddie's back and he's like the first DLC. Also news, that happened over the past couple weeks. Oh, yeah, but I'm like, dude, Kenny, think about it. Like you're gonna get crazy capo shit on this character you've never seen before, because we know how characters are in Tekken 8. They're gonna do shit to Eddie that he's never had, and he's gonna have like rocket boots or some shit. I don't know, dude. They're gonna do something wild to him that'll make him really fun.
I need his costume 3 to be just like tiger.
They have to have a tiger costume for him, right?
Right. Gotta. That's what I need. But yeah, like you were saying, like it was just so fun. Like I was playing with JM Croft last night, and he was like, "Let's just play like a 1st to 5." That 1st to 5 turned to like a 1st to like 30, and I'm just like, we just kept hitting a rematch because it was like, It's just so fun. Like rematch happens right away.
No more getting ready for the next battle.
Next battle.
No more of that.
This is not an arcade game anymore, dude. It's amazing.
Yeah, and we're like just brawling, like the close combat. Like I think that's what Harada said. They want the fights more up close.
Yes,
and it's really like that. It's so like that, and I think that's also probably why. I'm personally I was disappointed with this one, but I understand why they did it. No infinite wall stages.
They're all gone.
All gone. That makes me sad because for me, I'm like, I love infinite wall stages for like training mode, like doing like training mode stuff. But now that's gone.
You have to pick like Jin stage.
Well, you know what I do? I just go to the combo challenge and get that grid.
Oh yeah, you're right. Grid. Oh, actually, grid is not infinite.
There is a wall there.
Yeah, there's technically a wall.
It's just really far.
Yeah.
So that's like where I practice combos and everything. But it's just like I wish that I have at least just one infinite wall stage. Like you know how like Street Fighter has like training stage or stuff like that. Just give us that for Tekken.
Yeah, like do a Tekken 8 version of Moonlit Wilderness stage and just have it no walls. That's
right.
Yeah, and I mean it's weird because that's where Tekken initially differentiated itself from Virtua Fighter. Like the first few Tekken games were just wallless stages and they were infinite. Like, and that was what made it different than Virtua. There was no ring outs in our game. That's the difference, right? And then eventually as walls became a big thing in VF, they also became a big thing in Tekken.
I don't know if you guys agree, but it's like when I look back and even at the time, I remember seeing Tekken 1 and 2 and thinking characters, fine, they're good for the time, but I was like, I hate the stupid stage shit. Just have a normal stage. Like I hated the infinite stages because the technology to make them look cool. It was only until Tekken 3 where I was like, okay, these look way better now.
It blends
like,
a little bit.
It blends a little bit, and like the stages are more interesting because just technology allows it. But like at the time, I was like, I hate this shit, man. It looks so shitty. Yeah. And like other 3D games, even later, still kind of did it and did it even worse. But now it's like the stages are so cool and interactive, and have all this shit that's like, yeah, bring back an infinite stage. Why not?
Now we're just playing Dead or Alive 3. For the most part.
It is kind of like, it is.
We're not at DOA 5. We're not like falling off of skyscrapers and shit, or like Bushin throwing some bitch like 90,000 feet down. Like it isn't that wild and crazy, but to be real, like we're the closest to Dead or Alive Tekken's ever been now.
So that's crazy you mentioned that because I only caught wind of this like recently. People were like, yeah, that's because the dude that directed DOA 5 and 6 like joined Bandai Namco and like is the producer or the director. He's high up there.
He's in a higher positional role, either like lead programmer or something. But yes, like a lot of people saw that name, and I was told that name by Mike Murray. Where he's like, "There's a name
Shimbori,
in here. There's a name in here you might remember." And I was like, "He's like, you know who that is?" I'm like, "Is that a DOA guy?" He's like, "Yup." Yep. And I'm like, he's like, yup. And I'm like, what the hell? So it's kind of a big deal that, because we know this old story that DOA is like done, according to the president. And let me remind you that it's done and it's dead. And don't ask us. It seems like a lot of those guys left and they went over to Bandai Namco.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny, like a full circle thing, how like, back in the day, Itagaki is just like, you know what the worst fighting game ever is? Tekken. Like it's Tekken. Tekken 5 times is the worst, and it's like, he would say, you know what the 5 worst fighting games are? Tekken. No, it's Tekken 1, Tekken 2, Tekken 3.
Oh my god,
the beef was so rough, man.
But it was one-sided. Harada's like, who the fuck is
never
Itagaki?
Even acknowledged his existence,
Like he transitioned into having a fun feud with Ono instead. Yeah. He's like, I don't want this like bad
toxic bitch.
What if that was his plan to like, okay, Harada, if you're not gonna notice me, senpai, then I'm gonna go work for Bandai Namco, and then you're gonna notice me.
Oh, this is a different guy, though.
This is definitely a different guy.
Oh, it's a different guy.
This is Itagaki, Itagaki-san, who is like,
doing NFT shit the last time I heard.
Yeah.
It's like, Godspeed, buddy.
Harada's smart. Like, if you give those people attention, that's what they want a response out of you, dude. They want you to say shit that validates what they're saying to say more shit.
But I also think there was like a wrestling promo aspect to that. Like, let's have a beef. Like, like a bit of theatrics to it as well.
With
like,
Itagaki, there was.
There was, for sure. But all that to say is that like that all that shit in Dead or Alive, like when people go, oh, it's the girls or the counter system, I'm like, no. Ever since like even DOA 1 to a point, because it had the danger electric pads or explosive shit on the floor.
Yeah.
But it's like in DOA 2 and every subsequent game, like all the stage like throws and interactions, like all that shit was the hypest. Like no one was doing that. And it was only until what, Tekken 7 where they really started doing that. And now Tekken 8 obviously taking it to a new level. Like every time you hit a wall, shit explodes.
It technically goes back to Tekken like 6, where like breakable walls start happening, like the ground just blows out from underneath you, characters fall. Right. They refine it a lot more in Tekken 7, and now it's just like, oh no, now there's actually like individual stage hazards on top of stage breaks where like the wall, the ground can break. No, now you like knock somebody into a 6,000-year-old bone totem. It releases the demons of the past and launches you 30 feet into the air for an air combo. It's like, whoa, okay, Jesus Christ.
There's also the volcano. Volcano erupts like your ass, and you just get launched up in the sky as well too.
Oh, I haven't been on that stage yet because aside from the story mode, I did King's character story training. I did not go into the arcade quest thing. So let me ask. That's just basically right now like a really really fun like advanced tutorial, basically.
Pretty much,
right?
Yeah, okay. But it's actually good. And here's the thing. It's so things that are missing. Treasure Quest is gone, where you could like fight just arcade battles of rando creative characters and just get like Lucky Box. They've eliminated Lucky Box, so they've turned it into Arcade Quest, where you go into Arcade Quest, it gives you a small primer, it puts you into a tournament, it gives you like the basics of Tekken. It's like, hey, you should be using your heat engagers, here's how you do rage, all this type of bullshit, right? And you get little bonuses and extra money for doing that stuff. And then eventually it opens it up and it's like, all right, now you get to go to other arcades in, I think it's like fictional Japan or something like that. And you can start going to unique places. The first place you go is a Ghost Battle place. So they teach you about Ghost Battle. That unlocks Super Ghost Battle, where you start teaching your character how to play. But when you do that, there's a bunch of rando assholes just sitting around Ghost Battle, and they have little chests next to their names. So if you fight them and you beat them, and depending on their ranking, they might be like harder and harder, they just give you skins. They just give you straight up skins. Like they'll be fighting with a character that has like no shirt on. So it's like a shirtless variation of that character. And then you get
Yes. Yeah, no, I heard. So I saw some screenshots of some of these costumes. I was like, whoa, that's cool.
Yeah, where the hell's that? Like, and they are in arcade quest mode. So the game heavily incentivizes you to like ranking up and get your Dan rank up so you can eventually get higher caliber players that have better loot. And it's great. Like, I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And I only went to like 2 arcades so far. There's a story in it where there's this asshole that you have to like fight against in a tournament, and he's like your rival. So you have to eventually like beat him. So there's like a whole other story mode in the game too that also has a tutorial that also unlocks shit for the other characters. It's actually wonderful in my personal opinion. It's one of the better modes in the game.
Yeah, it's literally Tekken Pokemon, bro.
Kind of is.
Pokemon. You go to different arcades, beat the best in your arcade, and you conquer the arcade, and you keep doing that until you get to the Tekken World Tour tournament.
Yep.
It'd be pretty cool if that asshole character you described, like the Gary Oak, right? It's like
he's pretty much the Gary Oak.
You play the Japanese version, and his name is Itagaki.
Harada and I think Mike Murray are actually in it. Like, and Harada says, "Don't ask me for shit" or something like that.
Yeah, no,
he's in the Ghost Bat. He's in the shady arcade Ghost Battle arcade.
I only got to play Reina once in the story mode. They threw me one match and I was like, oh shit, and it's only one round, so I could barely, and I haven't gone in training with her yet, but that's like the character I'm kind of looking at, because even in story mode, it's like she's so cool, because I can't remember a time where a character was like, hi, like we talked about this a little bit, I think when you guys played a chunk of it. Yeah. Hi, oh, Jin senpai, like, oh, I hope I can be as cool as you one day. Yeah. And then he turns his back and it zooms in like the dog in The Simpsons with the shifty eyes. Yeah. And I'm like, this is amazing, because it's like you're either Chun-Li or Cammy or you're Jury.
Yes. Yeah. You're not one or the other.
Yeah, so a two-faced character like this, I'm sure there must be in some other fighting game I'm not, super intimately familiar with, where it's like two-facing is fun. Put it in more fighting games because it doesn't happen too often, I feel. And like literally it is so much like professional wrestling where after a character walks off the screen, it just zooms in on someone looking really suspect. I'm like, I love this. I love this. So I want to play as her, and I only got like little taste, but like, does she play something like super, super unique? Is she a bit like Heihachi? What do you feel so far, Justin?
I think she is, because from Tekken history, a lot of times people get so like turned off or like kind of intimidated by using Mishimas, because people always say, yeah, Mishimas are like very difficult to master, difficult to play because they're electrics and everything. So with Reina, she actually kind of can give people less like that intimidation factor, because you can do like electrics much easier by doing like, you don't have to do a full motion for it.
Okay.
Right. She had like wave dashing. You have to do so much intricate motions. You just have to hit down forward 3, and then she'll just do a dash automatically. Right. And then if you press the punch, like the right punch 2, then she'll just do God Fist automatically as well too. So she becomes like more of an easier Mishima for people to just try her out. I think that's what they want to do, because Reina's so cool. Makes and they sense. Want more people to try her out. But she's super sick. I think the crazy part is that she has a lot of different stances as well too.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, she had a lot. Like, she had a sentai stance. She had like the sidestep stance as well too. She even has a parry, like third strike parry, like a one frame parry. Yeah, so it's really interesting because she has so much stuff. So I just think it will take a long time to like see someone really good with Reina. Like, she's not like a really easy character to pick up, but I think she's really easy to get into.
Right. Okay. Like easy to get into, hard to master.
Yeah, that type of thing.
Okay.
I feel like all the new characters are kind of like that, right? Where even like Victor and Azucena.
Yeah, Victor seems really difficult, just like because he has so many different moves.
Yeah.
But playing Azucena, she's super easy.
Is she actually really easy? I couldn't tell. Yeah. She's just like the buttons queen, and she just presses shit, and like her jabs and getting her like away. Get the fuck away from me! Like, it's really hard to get her away from you.
It's like because when I was playing Reina, I'm like, man, like trying to get like her combos to like do like, let's say, over 70 damage is like a mission, because like, one, I don't know like which one's the best ones. Like the combo trials doesn't really give you like the best strings to use, but the combo trials for Azucena, you're getting 70 damage on those combo trials, and
really,
it's crazy.
Yeah, you don't get that high damage on Victor combos at all in the trials.
Yeah, and all her combos just takes you all the way to the corner. It's like easy corner carry, and then that goes to 90 damage as well too. And plus, she has her funny liberation stance where it just auto parries highs, auto parries lows, and dodges throws. You have to use mids to beat that stance. So while she's
so when she puts her hands on her hips and starts walking, you have to do mids?
Yeah. You can only do mids.
I'm gonna launch that ass.
Lows, whiffs. But then the thing is, she can attack during that stance as well, to attack and grab. And she can also backdash during that stance too. So she can do backdash into a launcher if she thinks you're gonna do a mid. So she's just really, really, really good. Like, and just does a crap ton of damage. Like, it's insane. And she could combo into throws. Like, if she hits you, if you're crouching and she does like forward 4, which is kind of like a knee thing, like Brian's like knee. If you're crouching, she gets a guaranteed throw there that goes into heat.
It almost reminds me of Lucky Chloe, where Lucky Chloe was this character you wouldn't think would be like a damage hog, but she is. Like, she just gets a shit ton of damage for no reason. She's doing more damage than this like beefcake ass dudes and shit, and she's this little girl dancer. I'm like, god damn, you're whooping ass.
Listen, she's the coffee queen. She's trying to start her coffee empire.
The perfect blend.
The perfect blend.
So in the story mode, Justin, when they introduce Azucena, they just say she's an MMA specialist. I was like, really? Emma, like, because her reach is so crazy, like in the little time I played as her, and just say like MMA, she's a striker, and I was like, I guess she doesn't have like an established style that they based it off of, so it's just like, you know, mixed martial arts. Or I just thought it was funny.
I mean, she has a lot of moves from like, you could tell from a lot of moves that she does, it's from various Tekken characters. Like she has Bruce's like the knee kicks he does, or like the 3-hit like traveling knee. Like she has those. She has Brian moves as well too. She has Steve Fox's moves as well too. So it's like literally a mix of everything.
Huh. The Doral.
The Doral.
The Coffee Queen Doral of Tekken.
Yeah.
Or like Mokujin switch styles, or
you know
or
what's
whatever.
you know what's one thing that's I figured out is that every character now, like, you know how you have your throws, right? Like 1-3, 2-4, then like a special throw. Every character now has a up forward 1+2 throw.
Yeah, it seems like uniques are now on just up forward 1+2
Yeah,
you obviously have like you obviously have characters like King, who has like multi throws, and other characters, but every character has the like up forward 1+2. Like, you know how Heihachi's headbutt is, it used to be forward 1+2.
Yeah.
Reina has the headbutt, it's up forward 1+2. Kuma's also, the headbutt is up forward 1+2. So it just seems like they turned every grab that used to be a different command into up forward 1+2.
So this is the overall simplification of the game, quote unquote. This is technically like homogenizing things a little bit, but at the same point, dude, like, I hated the fact that everybody's rage arts had unique inputs in the previous game.
Yeah.
So I had just I'm just give me a rage art button, dude. I don't want to have to remember all of this. I get it. Like, some people are going to play the game a lot longer than others, but when you're coming back and you just want to like, okay, well, I know where rage art is. It's on R1, you know, for everybody. I can do that consistently. I don't mind that. Like, in a game that already has like 70 to 120 inputs moves for every character, like, okay, we can make some things sort of even throughout the rest of the cast.
When it's a universal system, it should mostly stick to a universal input. Like, you know, like someone's kid should be different than someone else's. But it's like, I always go back to that story of, I was at a bachelor party and we're playing Street Fighter 5, I think, and everyone couldn't do a super to save their life. Like I could, because I'd played the game a little bit. And then everyone's like, this game's so lame, let's put in Mortal Kombat. And then everyone's doing x-rays all the time.
Their hands are like this when they're playing all the time. They're just like this.
It's like that Star Trek meme right there.
So yeah, I think that's a smart change for the game, because it's like, for me, I don't know if I kind of remember the launch of Tekken 7 on console, but right now it just seems like everyone is talking. Like, I'm just going by my socials, obviously, and websites and whatever, but it just seems like there's a lot more like hype around this versus Tekken 7 did. Not to say Tekken 7 didn't have it, but
Tekken 7
this seems
had
like another level.
But another thing to like be reminded of, Tekken 7 was coming off of the result of a Tekken Tag 2 that did not do specifically good, so people weren't inherently super excited. And to be real, Tekken 7 doesn't really find like its actual like stardom and footing until a bit later, like after it's out, and then the guest characters start showing up, you know, and then like esports stories start happening. I just did a massive video on this, kind of like looking back on what made Tekken 7 so big. How was this the game that eclipsed Tekken 3?
Because of Geese, that's
Geese was the first one, man. He was the first guest character, and then Noctis was right after. Well, I mean, sorry, yeah, you're right. Akuma, big core story, but like things like that were a big part of it. So I think this game at launch has more hype and excitement around it since like Tekken 5. I think Tekken 5 was the last time. There's a new Tekken game. Oh, shit, bro. That Tekken 4 game, I don't know about that one. Some people like it. I don't know about that one. And then other people are like, dude, Tekken 5, it's like Tekken 3 again. This is so... Like, that 2005 energy about that game was massive, dude. T5 was such a big game for like casuals and hardcores alike. I feel like we're kind of there with Tekken 8 in a launch situation. I don't think Tekken 6 was like that at launch. It doesn't seem like it. Tag 2 was definitely not that way. Tekken 7 was pretty exciting, at least to a certain degree, but the game had not really popped off yet, like all things considered. It took until a bit later for Tekken 7 to really pop off.
Yeah, it was such a weird place, because Tekken 7 came out in arcade first, right?
Yeah, so
Yes.
it kind of muted
Like
the
it's
response
such a weird
little.
place because only like certain specific regions of the world had access to this game.
Yeah, we had been. I told this story on the Legacy video. I had been watching Green Tekken Arcade, which is not a Japanese, a Korean arcade that had a whole bunch of Tekken 7 machines. I had been watching them play 4 different versions of that game for over like 2 years until the game finally fucking came out. It was like, dude, holy crap.
Yeah.
So yeah, there wasn't that much. There wasn't like an astronomical amount of hype. It was just like a kind of like a, well, goddamn, finally, you know, like finally we get this game. We've been looking at it. We've been looking at it literally competing in Evo for actual years, and now we get to actually play it.
And like Akuma did do like a significant amount of heavy lifting,
Oh, yeah.
and making people want to check it out. But like now, you know, no guest characters at launch, and we were saying a bit earlier how like Harada may or may not be lying about we're not even considering guest characters right now, because everyone's like Tifa, and he's like, I hear you, just make Tifa and the character customization for now, but not yet.
You didn't see what he responded as a troll. Maybe he's not a troll. He's kind of like the Ed Boon of Japan, right? When it comes to stuff on Twitter. But he was like, yeah, don't worry, I'm gonna put in Rugal. And I was like,
I did see.
That would have been sick. Rugal would be pretty sick in some Tekken though, I think.
But here's the thing, that's sometimes 4D chess, because you're like, oh yeah, yeah, that's funny, you're putting Rugal. He's like, but what if I actually put Rugal into the game?
Yeah, I will give you my money no matter what.
That's still a surprise, like regardless. But I wanted to talk about Eddie for 1 second. Slightly hot take, but I think he looks super sick in this game, in this engine, with that haircut. I know this haircut is like overdone, like every single black character has it, and I was getting tired of it too. But I see it on Eddie, I'm like, nah, man, he looks so fucking cool.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you know, still customization. He's gonna have multiple hair options, and I get people being
multiple costumes,
being tired of it. But
go back to default or whatever they want to.
I did think for 1 second he was like Eddie's like younger brother or something.
Nailed it. Yeah, that was my first moment impression of the character was like, is this Eddie's son? Like,
yeah.
Like he kind of, because of the hairstyle changing him, just makes him look way younger.
Yeah, exactly. Like even his face just looked like I don't know, like younger, because he should be a bit older by now at least, as several characters should be, quite frankly. But like, I mean, that is what he's spring, and then every other subsequent DLC characters, like every season, I guess. Then summer, then autumn, then winter.
It seems like
I'm pretty sure spring after Evo, possibly a second one after Evo.
They're going through 2024. I don't think there was any characters that were going into 2025 yet.
No, I'm gonna be honest, I did not see that like a supposed leaked list of DLC. I don't even know if that's even accurate as to what the first character is, but it's like I don't even want to look at it because like I wasn't expecting Eddie. I just thought like he's not going to be in the game. I just think there's certain characters they're just not bringing back. Let's give them a rest. They're in Tekken 7. You shouldn't automatically be in a game. So I was hyped as fuck when I saw him, especially the music, because Eddie's Tekken 3 theme is like one of my all-time favorite fighting game pieces of music. So I was like hyped as hell when I saw it for the first time.
You know what was really cool? Tekken Fight Lounge.
It's better now, right? Compared to the betas and stuff. They the group battle stuff is actually kind of cool.
Yeah, Tekken. I just think the whole like aesthetic of it as well also looks pretty cool as well too.
It ain't that interactive, to be real.
Yeah,
you can't. I think the most you can do is sit.
You just sit and play, right? Sit and play or buy stuff.
Like that's about it.
I got a little hype because when I went to the arcade, I was like, oh, can we do like air hockey in the basketball?
Nope.
Like because in Grand Blue you can play soccer. You can play soccer in Grand Blue. So I was like, oh, maybe, but it would have been really sick if they added that.
At least Tekken Ball, like you play Tekken Ball in the background or whatever. Right?
Yeah, Tekken Ball is like down and around in a beach. You know, it's kind of funny. And Tekken Ball's really fun too. Like to me, like Tekken Ball's kind of been like a throwaway mode, and Tekken Tag is like, all right, let's play some Tekken Ball.
There's no online for that, right?
Oh, it's online. Yeah. You just go down to the Tekken Ball beach, which is in the arcade. It's like it goes downstairs. You can play it online.
Oh, nice.
I fought Kenny a whole bunch. We were actually having a really good time.
Money matches, hey?
It's made around the Tekken 3 design of Tekken Ball, which plays a little bit differently than Tekken Tag 2 Wii U Tekken Ball, which is okay. It's legit fun. I'm like, oh yeah, this is the reason why people still play Tekken Ball Tekken 3 competitively. It's actually good.
I want a fleshed out, like, if I could start wanting for DLC already, I would love a nice, polished, doesn't have to be long, but a fleshed out Tekken Force with like 2 players. Like, I would be cool. Love that.
Technically, the bones are there, you know.
Yeah, you could play as a Xiao. You could play as Xiao Yu and Panda, right?
What do you mean?
As Tekken Force mode, you could the 2 players. Those are gonna be the 2 main characters.
Oh, you mean like a co-op?
Yeah, co-op.
Like, those are the only 2 characters. The amount of times in story mode where planes just let Panda on, and they're like, "Yeah, that's cool. Let me see your passport, Panda."
And they just growl, and then
and I know one of the planes is at least like Lily's like private jet, so I guess there's no checks. But like at least one of them, like Panda somehow got to Italy at some point without that help. So I just whenever I see Justin, there's a shot of like all the Tekken warriors just like standing there and they're like ready to fight, and it just pans over and you just see Kuma like wearing like the gi in the background, just standing there. I'm like, this is the best. Tekken's the best.
Yeah,
just chilling.
Yeah, I like it that this story mode actually does a pretty good job at a balance between, like, you know, character seriousness and also completely goofballs. So, and I appreciate that. Like, some of my favorite stuff has enough like levity where it's like you can enjoy it without being like too super serious. And at points, like even games like Street Fighter V have a real tough time with that. Where it's just really like, it's hard for me to take this seriously, man, when the characters aren't acting a way they should. Like, and at least in this game, I never got that feeling. I was just having a great time almost the whole time.
And the other nice thing about it is that I don't think there was like any matches or like fights that were happening for like the dumbest reason, which tends to happen in Mortal Kombat and especially Street Fighter V, where it's like, who are you? You're a villain. I'm going to attack you now because you're like a shadowy, suspicious character. They're like, no, I'm not. I'm Ryu. And they're like, no,
I'm Ryu.
Just fights happening for stupid reasons because characters aren't talking, aren't communicating. And in Tekken, it's like Leo shows up and he's just going to go like, oh, is he going to attack Jin? And he's like, he does attack Jin, but Leo goes like, oh, I've always wanted to fight against you, so let's have a quick like sparring match. Or Xiao Yu just says, let's have a sparring match for old time's sake. These are not important fights.
No.
They don't have any grand significance, but they're at least given reasons to fight. I don't remember like Azuzena. I think Azuzeno had the one where I was like, oh, that's kind of silly that she's fighting the character, but it was really brief, and it was like once out of the entire like 2 hours I played, and I was like, oh, I really appreciate that because that's starting to bother me. And
Azuzena doesn't have like a deep, meaningful impact on Tekken 8's story, but she shows up.
Yeah. I think in Street Fighter 6 there were still 1 or 2 fights where I'm like, this fight doesn't need to happen. This is silly the way this is happening. But it wasn't too bad. Street Fighter 5 and like sometimes a chapter or there or 2 of a Mortal Kombat game. It's like, you know the one that really bothered me? It's in MK1 where Reptile has to fight every single woman character one after another, and he's just like, leave me alone, I'm trying to stop this thing from happening. They're like, halt, reptilian, or like whatever his race is called, Zyoth or whatever, and they're just like, and you beat a character and then he turns around and another character's there waiting, like there's a whole Marvel team waiting, 3 characters
to his left and his right. He's like, God, this is a 2D game, I'm stuck.
It was ridiculous, and I'm really glad that like so far, again, I still have 25% left to go, perhaps, that hasn't happened. I was like, oh, thank God, thank you, Harada, you know?
Yeah, I mean, to me personally, overall, I think this game deserves its praise. I'm trying to think of like what's missing in here, and I think the only thing that comes across as being like worse than Tekken 7 possibly is the customization, but that might be because I haven't unlocked all the customizable things yet, and we still have to go through like Super Ghost Battle to get them. So maybe the customization isn't there as much as, you know, previous Tekken titles. Obviously, we're not going to get anywhere close to Tekken 6 and Tekken Tag 2 customization.
There is one thing that I found missing that I was really surprised about. So when during the whole servers thing, like that, the only way I was able to find some matches before ranked match started working was create your own room.
Yeah.
Right. There doesn't seem to be a spectate option in those
I heard
rooms.
that. I haven't had a chance to fire that up yet because the funk of online last night, since has been fixed. But people were saying in some reviews that like, oh, apparently if you just go into a private room, you can't spectate people. I was like,
yeah.
Really?
Like if you have like an 8-man lobby,
Yeah.
you're just stuck in that like screen and just wait for your turn. And I was trying to find like every button, and I'm like literally pressing every key like to give me an option, and it's just like you could kick them, you could write in chat, no spectate option, but they're saying you can spectate in the Tekken Fight Lounge, but not in private room.
Yeah, so here's and that's what's weird about it is that I in the review version, I didn't even know this was a problem because I played mostly in the fight lounge. And when you're in a fight lounge, it puts this little glowy circle around like, 8 cabinets, which means that 4 different matches can be happening at a time. And you just go in the zone and click, and it gives you an option list, and it says spectate. So it's not like the game can't do spectator mode.
Yeah.
Like
They
someone
just forgot.
they might have just forgot. Like, oh shit! Like we just assumed that was in there, maybe. So I long story short, I think that'll be added within a month.
I hope so, because because obviously when you think about the FGC, online tournaments are so popular, right? That every day is like an online tournament. So I think if somebody wanted to run a Tekken 8 online tournament, it would be a little bit difficult.
You have to do it like in the lobby now. Yeah, you have to do it in somewhat of like a private lobby, or not private lobby, like the actual Tekken Battle Lounge.
Yeah, but like think of it as like this. Like let's say you're playing in a tournament, it's like 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 5, and then somebody just queues up next.
Exactly.
You just then what? You got to run away to a different machine.
Exactly, because so here's what's also kind of weird about the Tekken Battle Lounge. There'll be like a small circle where it's just like one cabinet, another cabinet, so only 2 people can fight each other. Okay, so you get in that circle and you essentially queue into like training mode to begin. Like, all right, I'm going to be training until somebody fights. The other person. It doesn't immediately go like, get ready for the next challenger. It doesn't do that. You just do the exact same thing. You queue, and then both players who are sitting at the machine are now queued to fight each other. But does it immediately go off? Not exactly. It takes a little bit to sync each other, and then match makes, and then you fight. So I'm like,
it's kind of weird.
That's weird. It should just like act like an arcade, you would think. But granted, like how the online functionality of the game works is different than offline, so it just doesn't work that way. It's not like the end of the world. It's just odd because it was like, wait a minute, is this you on the character select screen? I'm like, no, it's not. I'm in training mode. What the fuck? Like, so we're both in training mode. We are, and then it's like a new challenger, and then it popped up. I was like, okay. We're fighting each other now.
The funny part is when you get that new challenger, you don't even see the name yet until you hit yes.
Yeah, you just get their information. You just get like basic like Wi-Fi information or stuff like that.
Yeah. But is that like, do you guys feel that's a design thing? Because it sounds more like a bug to me almost.
No, it's by design. It's functionally matchmaking the exact same way that like player matches work. Instead of like the big pool of like player matches, it's like it's a tiny pool. Or like a medium-sized one, or it's not like the everything. Because when you go into ranked and player matches, I did this. I went into the Japanese server, and I'm in a big Japanese battle lounge. So I went to a cabinet, like a one person cabinet, and I fought that person. I was like, all right, cool. So I fought somebody in Japan. It worked great. It was actually a relatively good experience. But I queued into ranked match from the menu from that point, and it gave me American opponents. So there's definitely regional sort of things going on where I cannot get my ass into like Japanese player matches or Japanese like ranked. I don't think, at least from the testing I did right now.
It probably has to only be in like lounge, like kind of how like Street Fighter 6 Battle Hub works. You can play somebody from Japan in Battle Hub, but when you're ranking player matches,
there's no way.
It's only your region only.
Yeah,
and just to let viewers know, this is like day 2 for I guess all 3 of us.
Super early. Yeah, this is
super early.
Like even my experience was when it was all messed up in the first few hours, And they've recently fixed that. So I need to have like an uncompromised online experience to really sort of like pass judgment.
But that's how much I was loving Tekken. I was willing to take all these fatal error crashes. That's for sure.
Bro, yeah, and when it's working, it's so much fun. Like it's crazy how much I'm enjoying this. I'm comparing it to the last time I've made content for like big fighting games that are Tekken games, and it was like Revolution, which I just skipped, and 7 obviously, and then Tag 2. And Tag 2 I dropped.
Revolution.
So Tag 2 I just dropped because the netcode was not great at launch. And Tekken 7 tried to get into it, but like also, while it did have better net play, it was also, dude, launch Tekken 7 netcode was pretty balls. And I just didn't have a character. Like that was when I officially dropped like Jin. I was like, I'm not playing Kid Jin anymore. I hate this guy. Like I can't stand him. I miss old Jin. I'm not going to deal with new Jin. Like
he made you feel a certain way, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So at least at this point in the game, I'm super excited because I have like 3 characters I love playing already out of the core roster, and there's like a ton more that are going to get added. Guest characters are definitely going to be evolved in some way in the future.
So like I think when Street Fighter 6 came out, I think we all had like at least like a week or 2 before we even recorded like a review podcast about it. And for Mortal Kombat 1, I think we all had the game kind of early, but like I had just as I got like the code for that like a week ahead, I had a trip and I just couldn't play it the entire time. But this is like the first time it's like day 1 or day 2 for all 3 of us, and like talking about all this shit, it's like I want to end the podcast so I can go start to play again, because there's still so much. Because like you're just saying like 3 mains, I'm like, yeah, I haven't even had a chance to like try King out since the beta. I want to do that, like, you know, play Reina and even Azucena as well. So it's like, can we end it now?
Literally right before the podcast, those 10 minutes before the podcast, I'm like, oh, I have 10 minutes left. Let me launch
Tekken 8 matches.
Right. Get a couple of matches and then turn it off when I get the message. That's literally what I did.
Yeah, like the game's legit. Like it seems pretty good. It's got like the best reviews of a Tekken game in a long goddamn time.
Isn't it something like it's got like a 90 average?
It's got like a 90 or a 91 last time I checked.
91?
And the last time a Tekken game had gotten reviews that good was like Tekken 5. So I mean, I don't know if Tekken 7 players are going to fully adopt this, because Tekken 7 evolved into being an actually pretty defensive game. This game wants everybody up each other's ass at all times, it kind of feels like, but it's sort of fun because it's like different, you know, we're actually playing, it feels like a different game here, and I don't know, man, I can't wait to go play more.
So I'm pressing stop on the podcast, guys.
Yeah,
Let's all press stop together.
We're stopping the podcast.
3, 2, 1, we are done.
Peace.